Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Audio Chapter 1, The Spiritual Masters, 53. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is in this section quoting from the 9th chapter, Answers by Citing the Lord's version of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto. Very important and renowned, famous as the chapter Shloki, the seed verses of Shloki. Aham, eva, asam, eva, ave, na, anyat, yat, sat, asat, ram, aschat, aham, yat, etat, cha, ya, abhishnate. vishayeta samamyaham. Hare Krishna. Ladies. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Asam, existed. Eva, only. Agre, before the creation. Na, never. Anyat, anything else. Yat, which. Sat, the effect. Asat, the cause. Param, the supreme. Paschat, at the end. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Yat, which. Etat, this creation. Cha, also. Ya, who. Avishyeta, remains. Sa, that. Asmi, am. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle, or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. Please repeat. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist, and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle, or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Aham means I, therefore the speaker who is saying aham, I, must have his own personality. The Mayavadi philosophers interpret this word aham as referring to the impersonal Brahman. These Mayavadis are very proud of their grammatical knowledge, but any person who has actual knowledge of grammar can understand that aham means I, and that I refers to a personality. Therefore, the personality of Godhead, speaking to Brahma, uses aham while describing his own transcendental form. Aham has a specific meaning. It is not a vague term that can be whimsically interpreted. Aham, when spoken by Krishna, refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else. Before the creation and after its dissolution, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates exist. There is no existence of the material elements. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Vasudevo va idam agra asinna Rama na cha sankara. The meaning of this mantra is that before creation there was no existence of Brahma or Shiva, for only Vishnu existed. Vishnu exists in his abode, the Vaikunthas. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and on each of them Vishnu resides with his associates and his paraphernalia. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that although the creation is periodically dissolved, there is another abode which is never dissolved. The word creation refers to the material creation because in the spiritual world, everything exists eternally and there is no creation or dissolution. The Lord indicates that before the material creation, he existed in fullness with all transcendental opulences, including all strength, all wealth, all beauty, all knowledge, all fame, and all renunciation. If one thinks of a king, he automatically thinks of his secretaries, ministers, military commanders, palaces, and so on. Since the king has such opulences, one can simply try to imagine the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord says aham, therefore, it is to be understood that he exists with full potency, including all opulences. The word yat refers to Brahman, the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. The Brahma Samhita 5:40, it is said, Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam. The Brahman effulgence expands unlimitedly, just as the sun is a localized planet, although the sunshine expands unlimitedly from that source, so the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but his effulgence of energy, Brahman, expands unlimitedly. From that Brahman energy, the creation appears just as a cloud appears in sunshine. From the cloud comes rain, from the rain comes vegetation, and from the vegetation comes fruits and flowers, which are the basis of subsistence for many other forms of life. Similarly, the effulgent bodily luster of the Supreme Lord is the cause of the creation of infinite universes. The Brahman effulgence is impersonal, but the cause of that energy is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From him, in his abode, the Vaikunthas, the Brahmajyoti emanates. He is never impersonal. Since they cannot understand the source of the Brahman energy, impersonalists mistakenly choose to think this impersonal Brahman the ultimate or absolute goal. But as stated in the Upanishads, one has to penetrate the impersonal effulgence to see the face of the Supreme Lord. If one desires to reach the source of the sunshine, he has to travel through the sunshine to reach the sun and then meet the predominating deity there. The absolute truth is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, as the Srimad Bhagavatam explains. Sat means effect. Sat means cause. And Param refers to the ultimate truth, which is transcendental to cause and effect. The cause of the creation is called the Mahatattva, or total material energy, and its effect is the creation itself. But neither cause nor effect existed in the beginning. They emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as did the energy of time. This is stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha. The source of birth of the cosmic manifestation, or Mahatattva, is the personality of Godhead. This is confirmed throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 8, the Lord says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the fountainhead of all emanations. The material cosmos, being temporary, is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest, but its energy emanates from the supreme absolute truth. Before the creation, there was neither cause nor effect, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead existed with its full opulence and energy. The words paschat aham indicate that the Lord exists after the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. When the material world is dissolved, the Lord still exists personally in the Vaikunthas. During the creation, the Lord also exists as he is in the Vaikunthas, and he also exists as the Supersoul within the material universes. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5:37. Goloka eva nivasati. Although he is perfectly and eternally present in Goloka Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha, he is nevertheless all-pervading. Akilatma Bhuta. The all-pervading feature of the Lord is called the Supersoul. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Aham Krishnasya Jagata Prabhava. The cosmic manifestation is a display of the energy of the Supreme Lord. The material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, display the inferior energy of the Lord, and the living entities are his superior energy. Since the energy of the Lord is not different from him, in fact, everything that exists in Krishna, in his impersonal feature, since the energy of the Lord is not different from him, in fact, everything that exists is Krishna in his impersonal feature. Sunshine, sunlight, and heat are not different from the sun, and yet, simultaneously, they are distinct energies of the sun. Similarly, the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are energies of the Lord, and they are considered to be simultaneously one with and different from him. The Lord therefore says, I am everything, because everything is his energy, and therefore non-different from him. Yo Vishayeta Smyam Sohami Aham indicates that the Lord is the balance that exists after the dissolution of the creation. The spiritual manifestation never vanishes. It belongs to the internal energy of the Supreme Lord and exists eternally. When the external manifestation is withdrawn, the spiritual activities in Goloka and the rest of the Vaikunthas continue, unrestricted by material time, which has no existence in the spiritual world. Therefore, In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Yad Gatva na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. The abode from which no one returns to this material world is the supreme abode of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 6. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nevrashesha Sunyavadi Paskitade Shatarane Aham Evaisham Evagre Nanyad Yat Sad Asat Param Paschad Aham Yad Etakcha Yo Vishayeta Sahamiya Aham. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist, and no phenomena exist, either gross or subtle, or primordial. After creation only, I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. We can understand how important this verse is for clarifying, among other things, for clarifying the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and what that entails for us in terms of our position. And by understanding it properly, we can become free from all of the implications that this material world and our being in this material world entail. Like Srila Prabhupada's purport in the second canto, which is sizable as well, Prabhupada begins by saying, Aham means I. Therefore, the speaker was saying Aham must have his own personality. It's a very, very simple point. Prabhupada goes on to say how they are very proud of their grammatical knowledge, but any person who has actual knowledge of grammar, and we can add anyone who has knowledge of common sense, can understand that aham means I, and that I refers to a personality. They want to make robots, but the robot is not an I. It cannot have a personality. It can only be programmed to resemble some type of personality, but very partial, by originally a person. Let us take a little look into how Prabhupada knocks on this foolishness of the Mayavadis, which they veil in a cover of sophistication here in the second canto, 9th chapter, 33rd verse. We should note very carefully that the personality of Godhead is addressing Lord Brahma and specifying with great emphasis himself, pointing out that it is he, the personality of Godhead, who existed before the creation, and it is he only who maintains the creation, and it is he only who remains after the annihilation of the creation. So, because we are, as described in this Caitanya Caritamrta purport, simultaneously one with and different, as Krishna exists eternally, so do we. So being in a position where we are seemingly, how to say, products, or we are implicated in the cycle of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age, Prabhupada would point out that this is something that nobody likes. Nobody likes to die. And if they say they don't worry about it, then they're just cheating crazy, or they're just, they're fooling themselves. So, and Prabhupada, he concludes the purport here very triumphantly. The spiritual manifestation never vanishes. It belongs to the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. As we can regain our position in the internal energy of the Lord by choosing to do so. And that choice is manifested by the performance of pure devotional service. Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavanyas jasmi tattvataha. The spiritual manifestation never vanishes. It belongs to the internal energy of the Supreme Lord and exists eternally. When the external manifestation is withdrawn, the spiritual activities in Goloka and the rest of the Vaikunthas continue. So in the material world, things are changing, people are changing, situations are changing, but we can understand this statement, how the spiritual manifestation never vanishes, that by continuing to engage ourselves in devotional service, no matter what, in all times, places, and circumstances, only by undivided and uninterrupted devotional service can I be understood as I am, and only in this way can you enter, and I'll say, remain understanding the mysteries of my understanding. When the external manifestation is withdrawn, the spiritual activities in Goloka and the rest of the Vaikunthas continue unrestricted by material time. If you become conscious of me, you will cross over all the obstacles of conditional life, material life, by my grace. Unrestricted by material time, which has no existence in the spiritual world. So a devotee, a pure devotee, can never be affected by any condition in this material world. The most exalted pure devotees, we say, even when it comes to the end of their life, or their, if invariably there's illness, prior to that disappearance, we call it sickness or disappearance pastimes. And in the case of the most exalted devotees, it's looked upon that such pastimes of illness and departure give great opportunity for the disciples and followers and adherent contemporaries and beyond to render very, very amplified and not in more, and not at other times, very confidential devotional service. We'd like to save this concluding part of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita for Hansarupa Prabhu for the next time he gives class on this section, as he has been reading it steadily, which is we're now at the point where Prabhupada is just about to depart. And indeed, the whole chapter is called The Final Lesson. That abode from which no one returns to the material world is the supreme abode of the Lord. The impersonalist puts forth the theory of oneness in the sense that Brahma, also being the same principle of I, because he is an emanation from I, the absolute truth, is identical with the Lord. The principle of I, and that there is nothing more than the principle of I, is explained in this verse. Accepting the argument of the impersonalist, It is to be admitted that the Lord is the creator I and that Brahma is the created I. Therefore, there is a difference between the two I's, namely the predominator I and the predominated I. The Srila Prabhupada is just like this great transcendental eagle catching the impersonalist in his talons and just crushing their head and forcing them to understand just very simple point and not allowing them to wiggle their way out, like a rat or a mouse or some type of rodent from his from the clutches of the superior personality. This Mayavad philosophy is destroying all bona fide knowledge in this age of Kali Yuga. Lord Shiva, who is the merciful, ultimate protector and controller, and let's say prison warden for all of these mode of ignorance personalities in this age of Kali. He was ordered by Lord Vishnu to appear as a Brahmin and create a philosophy that would deviate the human race from him. That was Sankaracharya, who appeared earlier in this age of Kali, thus setting the stage. Ultimately, Lord Shiva, as Sankaracharya, set the stage for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come and display the highest form of love and reciprocation available stemming from Goloka Vrindavan. So against the dark black background of what Lord Shiva created in the form of Sankaracharya, the Mayavadi philosophy, and even Sankaracharya, at the ultimate conclusion of his brief 32-year manifestation, he gave a little clue to his actual position. Bhaja Govinda, Muda Mate, calling all of his so-called followers and disciples fools and rascals, mudhas. What good will all your grammatical jugglery do you at the time of death? You must simply call out the name of Govinda. Therefore, there are still two eyes, even accepting the argument of the impersonalist, but we must note carefully that these two eyes are accepted in the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad, in the sense of quality. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam, Yovidadhati Kaman. The creator I and the created I are both accepted in the Vedas as qualitatively one because both of them are Nityas and Chaitanas. But the singular I is the creator I, and the created I's are of plural number because there are many I's like Brahma, and those generated by Brahma. It is the simple truth. The Father creates or begets a Son, and the Son also creates many other sons, and all of them may be one as human beings, but at the same time, from the Father, the Son, and the grandsons are all different. The Son cannot take the place of the Father, nor can the grandson. Simultaneously, the Father, the Son, and the grandson are one and different also. As human beings, they are one, but as relativities, they are different. Therefore, the relativities of the creator and the created, or the predominator and the predominated, have been differentiated in the Vedas by saying that the predominator I is the feeder of the predominated eyes, and thus there is a vast difference between the two principles. So we see in verses like this how empowered and exalted and super extraordinary His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is. Prabhupada gave all credit to his spiritual master and even Krishna himself for the manifestation of his books, the Bhaktivedanta Purports, very closely in touch with Krishna, his spiritual master, and the entire Guru Parampara. So such detailed explanations of the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in defiance to all erroneous and demoniac and motivated conclusions is meant for our edification and for our absorption so that we can become fit guardians of the path of devotion on behalf of the predecessor acharyas and Srila Prabhupada in this very dark and dangerous age of Kali Yuga. Srila Prabhupada is fully manifested of the glorious Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the full manifestation of Krishna's devotional service. His abode has descended into this world with all of his pure devotees and full potencies in the form of this Sankirtan movement. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. So, Srila Prabhupada's manifestation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, a place where those who wish to live as they are meant to live in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan with Krishna, is available here in Srila Prabhupada's society, where the activities of devotional service are taking place 24 hours a day, nonstop. All ways of engaging all different types of devotees, all different types of people, with all different talents and personalities, proclivities, can be engaged in this Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which again is simply the way of life of a devotee of Krishna. Thank you very much. The verse once again. Aham evaisam evagre nanyadyad sada satparam paschad aham yadek takcha yo vishadheta sahami aham. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist, and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle, or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. There's a few minutes. Any questions or comments?
Maybe you have some insight on this. I noticed that in the purport and also in the word for word, asat is glossed as cause, and sat is glossed as effect. Just curious, any idea why that was? Or
In
it would
this,
seem like it might be the other way around. But, I don't
let's
know.
see, let's look at the Bhagavatam, word for word. Anyat, anything else, yat, all those, sat, the effect, asat, the cause, param, the supreme, paschat, at the end. What do you think, Maharaj? Is there something that is being indicated or hinted at there? And something more deeper being indicated or referred to?
You usually think of Sat as being eternal, of course, and fundamental, and Asat as being secondary, non-fundamental, and not eternal. And effects seem to be like that, and causes seem to be like deeper. But, I was just curious whether maybe you had any insight on that. I don't know where to go with that, but maybe research it.
That which is eternal will make the real effect, whereas asat activities or actions are
It might just be a Sanskrit thing.
probably, yeah, but it's not, that's a nice nuance. Activities performed for Krishna. I'm just listening to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita lectures in Los Angeles, December 1968. I believe he's having a young Tamal Krishna read, and Prabhupada stops him in explaining. And the difference between action for Krishna and action not for Krishna. You know, that the devotee has his plans and endeavors, and he's working and moving, and the non-devotees, whereas people think that taking the spiritual life means that withdraw to a secluded place and stop all activities. But quite to the contrary, that the devotee is the most authorized person to be the most active and the most engaged in this world, because he properly knows how everything and everyone in this world is to be engaged and placed. So, sat, the effect. Some insight. Krishna Kripa, Prabhu, he's got a research.
I wanted to quote a couple of verses about Brahman being subordinate to the personality of Godhead, and it turns out one of them mentions Sat and Asat. Okay. It's Bhagavad Gita 13, and it says, Yam yata pravakshami yad vamritamashmite anadi matpram brahma na satan nasat uchate. And there, sat is translated as cause and asat is translated as effect. So, yeah, this is 13:13 Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, there it's the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I looked at 9, it's 9:19 Bhagavad Gita. That sat is translated as spirit, and asat is matter. So obviously, spirit is the cause, and matter is the effect, and matter is temporary. So maybe I can ask my BBT people if they have any insight into it, because it's not the first anomaly that's been encountered. Let me.
But it could be that, I don't know, it seems strange.
At any rate, that verse goes, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, which lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So that's one place in the Gita 13, which it says that Brahman is subordinate to him. And the more famous one is the last verse of chapter 14, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, I'm the basis of the impersonal Brahman. So even in Bhagavad Gita, the idea is that Krishna, the person, is above Brahman.
Yeah. The ultimate Sanskrit language can be applied differently in accord with how Krishna wants things to be expressed. It comes to mind, Prabhupada, they asked Prabhupada, what's the next book that you should translate? And you know what Prabhupada said? The Bhagavad Gita. But Srila Prabhupada, you've already done that. Well, I can do it again. Just like here, this is very nice how we have two renderings of the same verse, and there's differences. Those differences are not contradictory, but it gives more expression. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Govinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Haribol. And once again, Brooklyn Bridge, Harinam, 2 o'clock onwards, and Kirtan here in the temple room later.
You can meet us at the Brooklyn side of the bridge at 2:45 if you get a late start.
Well, we posted on the 2 o'clock, be in the lobby over here.